Welcome and thank you for joining us. This is a session that is an update overview on the new Outlook for Windows. What we plan to do with this time is we'll do quick introductions and then we will go into providing an overview of the new Outlook for Windows. Some of this will be information that's already been shared and available. We wanted this to serve as kind of a standalone, but we also will be looking to share updated information for you and so that customers can hear some of the latest news that we have and what's going on with the new Outlook for Windows, as well as we have been getting tons of feedback and I have lots of questions that customers have been asking us. So we wanted to be able to highlight and share some of those top questions and provide the answers that we can. To get started, the introductions. I am Margie Clinton. I am a group product manager on the Outlook team. My team is responsible for the new Outlook for Windows, but I say that I am one of many GPMs who are responsible for the new Outlook for Windows. It is an enormous project. And so while my team is primarily responsible for the delivery, the deployment, and those aspects, we have many other folks across PM and engineering and design and marketing and so forth for the size of this project as it relates to things like the mail module, the calendar module, the people module, and so forth. So I am one of the many people involved in a new Outlook for Windows.
Hi, everyone. I'm Robert Nowitzki. You'll hear Margie call me Bob. Everyone calls me Bob. So I have this fancy title, Director of Engineering, but in reality, what I'm responsible for is the classic Outlook for Windows, or, if we're talking about the new Outlook for Windows, the old Outlook for Windows. But I also have a role in the new Outlook for Windows. And so I kind of sit in a unique position where I'm, kind of working on bridging from the old to the new. Much like Margie, there are a lot of engineering leaders who are making the new Outlook for Windows happen. I'm fortunate enough to be one of them, but it takes a very, very large community of engineers to make this project go.
And I'm very excited to have Bob here, and you'll see what he and I will do is just kind of go back and forth, sharing the information that we can with you today. And to get started, the first thing is a little bit of an overview of our vision for Outlook as a whole, which is one of the first pillars that we have as a key priority for us, is what we call Outlook as a hub for me. And this covers two areas. One is that Outlook as a hub. We know and want Outlook to be a hub for your productivity, where it is the place where lots of communications start, but also that is a connector to the rest of the tools that you use in the M365 offerings, and it comes back oftentimes to Outlook. So that is Outlook as a hub. The other key part about this is, though, is that Outlook as a hub for me, which is we want Outlook to work and be customizable and tuned for how you work. So that for me part is so that it works for your work styles, whether that is for school, personal work, or other personal endeavors. We want it to be able to be tuned to work for the way that you need to work. Another key investment that everybody is talking about these days is AI, and that is a core pillar for us in offerings for Outlook. We believe that we can deliver and help bring 10x productivity through AI offerings. And then the third pillar that we have is around agility and code sharing. And this is where the new Outlook for Windows offering really comes into play, which is an investment for us to bring an offering for Outlook on Windows that is able to be more agile and faster at delivering new innovations, delivering needs for customers. And one of the key ways that we do that is through investments in things like code sharing on platform as well as in the clients.
And if I can jump in real quick, the other thing, oftentimes customers will say, well, other than features, like what does agility and code sharing do for me? And in, excuse me, in reality, one of the things that we have with Outlook is the time it took us to address any issues that arose in production for customers was on the period of weeks and months. And the agility that we get with the new Outlook for Windows brings that down to hours and days. We can make sure that any issues or any blockers are cleared for you and your users in a very short period of time. So there's also a practical benefit on a day-to-day basis of this investment.
And that leads us into one of the top things that we want to help and share around the why a new Outlook for Windows. Why are we making this big investment and asking this investment of customers? One of the top things that we all know, all of us, you as customers also know and feel, is that Outlook is challenged by client fragmentation. We have what you could count up to 6 different client offerings, Outlook offerings on different platforms. And that means that while we have hundreds of millions of users, they are not experiencing the same Outlook. You know and feel this pain. It is one of the top pieces of feedback that we have heard from customers for years now around how difficult and challenging it can be to support different Outlook offerings when you're using some of the different platforms, they are not going to behave the same way. And so with that, this new Outlook for Windows offering is meant for us to be able to make the investment to be able to apply all of our engineering energy on Windows into delivering and then maintaining a single, fast, and agile code base. And it's a little illustration of that is that these are little tiny pictures when we envision delivering what we call one Outlook for every Windows user. Currently on the Windows platform, you have 3 different, up to or more than 3 offerings, but what we have are the mail and calendar inbox apps on Windows. We have the web Outlook offering, and then we have classic or Win32 Outlook. And these are little tiny zoomed out pictures, but this is showing the calendar module where you look at them and kind of on the surface, they look somewhat the same. The layouts, we're choosing the same color palettes are available and that sort of thing. But anybody who's ever used more than one of our offerings know that they are not the same. That there are different features available in one place versus another. And even when the features are the same, sometimes those features behave differently. And that is what an illustration, an example of what we envision is a single Outlook that is scalable, flexible, and customizable to be one offering that can work for every Windows user, and it is consistent across all the different kinds of use cases that we would have.
And if I can make a quick shout out on that previous slide, one of the design points for this wasn't kind of like reimagined or a fourth Outlook. It was the fact that we wanted to kind of proactively go through and pick out the best aspects of the prior Outlooks and bring them forward into that one Outlook. So we're hoping that the new Outlook for Windows is kind of the distillation of the best of what we've built in the past.
That's a great point. Yep. And that goes on to the aspects of where we're delivering this is not just about combining the best of the capabilities, but also when we talk about combining the agility that we have with the web code base with the experience of a native client, because we know that many customers very, very deeply value the native client, rich native client feel. So I talked about an experience that is beautiful, flexible, and consistent, and able to be customizable to be able to work for every kind of use case that we have. The agility comes back into this. This is around being able to accelerate that consistency as well as accelerate our ability to deliver innovation to customers. And then finally, we recognize that there is deep love for many of these offerings, and in particular, the classic Outlook has 20+ years of features and capabilities and deep habits built into this. We recognize that we're going to need to earn that user love. It is no small undertaking to transition to a new Outlook, and we recognize that, and we know we're going to have to earn that by delivering not just the fundamentals, but also delivering upgraded experiences to make it worthwhile for you. Here's a little peek at an example of how we're thinking about the customization and the personalizations that can be available. These are also little tiny zoomed out pictures, but what they're showing is actually the new Outlook for Windows with different customizations on things like the ribbon. We can have a bigger ribbon where the controls are a little bit bigger. You have the labels for them. It's a little bit roomier. We have a more condensed ribbon that you can put more controls on it, as well as illustrations of things like density. So you can have it feel roomier, or it can feel more dense. And so you can get more content onto the screen and more messages visible at the same time. We also have layout options where you can choose to have the reading pane not visible, have it visible, have it down on the bottom or on the right, and many other kinds of those sorts of visual customizations so that you can tune Outlook to work for the way that you work, whether you're somebody who's using Outlook for your personal use all the way up to those super users. One of the key things I already mentioned is that we know that the fundamentals as well as the upgraded experiences are key for making this a worthwhile but also achievable investment. And we are definitely working on both of those. These are some examples of some of the things that are already available in the new Outlook. In some of these cases, these are features or capabilities that were in the Outlook for Web offering, but weren't necessarily available in either Classic Outlook or on the Inbox Windows apps. So things like being able to add all of your account types, being able to have the ribbon customization that I was showing you, being able to use categories and other things like calendar layouts to be able to tune how it looks for you, as well as productivity things that people really love. For example, schedule send email, or one of the favorite ones that is called out as people really loving, and I personally love it as well, is being able to pin important items to the top of your mailbox. So it sits up there until you go and get it taken care of. Another variant, kind of similar to how do you control things that help your productivity, is things like being able to snooze emails so that you can snooze them for when you're ready to come back. Okay, I'll look at this in 2 days or something like that. So these are a couple of examples of things that we're excited to share with customers that's in the new Outlook for Windows. But also we are getting tons of feedback. We really appreciate that we already have millions of users on the new Outlook for Windows, and we get mountains of feedback, and we pour over that feedback every day and are constantly using it to inform our backlog of work. I am not exaggerating when I say feedback is driving our backlog and ordering of what we're trying to deliver as quickly as possible to customers. Like I said, particularly desktop Outlook or Win32 Outlook has 20 plus years of features built into it and habits built into that. And we know we have a ways to go to fill that capability and parity that what you're looking for. So we know we have a ways to go with that. And so these are some of the examples of the top feedback items that we have acted on or are currently working on or queuing up to do to deliver to you. So for example, we heard loud and clear that shared mailboxes needed to work better. And so we've made some improvements. We probably have more to go there. Third-party account support was a key thing. Offline, we hear is one of the number one things for customers who are like, I just need it to be able to work offline for me. Another top one that is in progress is things like PST support and MSG file support and so forth. Then we have a couple of others that, as you can see, they're marked as they're coming on our backlog. Some of these we're actually either just about to start or they're just starting now, of things like custom formatting. That's the one that seems to be bubbling up a lot, as well as another example is being able to open files in the native apps instead of defaulting to web apps. And that's just going back to better tuning to fit into the habits that people have built. And then how are we going to be delivering all of this to you as customers?
And so I'll take a moment to talk about the playbook that we're going to use for delivering these features and this new Outlook to you. Over the past maybe 10 years, there have been a few shifts we've made in the various Outlooks. The Outlook web app was rewritten in React technology. The Mac Outlook app has been rewritten, and now we're working on this migration to the new Outlook. And all of them, have used or are going to use this similar playbook. And the first stage in this is where we give users an advanced chance to try the app at their own pace. So you'll see this picture in the upper right. You see that in the Classic Outlook and in Universal Mailing Calendar today, which offers you to try the new Outlook. And so when you turn that switch on, the app restarts and you get to see the new app. And again, this is a way for us to engage early when people have a bit of time and space to give us the feedback and to help us evolve the app and make it, the best app it can be for those users.
I'll jump in real quick, just as a little shout out there, Bob, which is one of the top ways that we're getting feedback is that toggle is there in the new app as well. So when you toggle back, we ask for your feedback about why you're going back to the old app. That is one of the top sources of feedback for us, and that is what we definitely want to be hearing. So sorry, Bob, go ahead and with the next step.
No, it's great, 100%, because that's why we do it, the ability to kind of capture that feedback when people say, because it's the strongest signal in the world when somebody says, no, I don't want to use this anymore. Take me back. Okay, great. Tell us why. And this moves into the opt-out mode when we've digested all of that feedback and we've made the improvements to the product. And just like Margie was saying earlier about winning user love, internally. Like, we aren't just a company that builds software, we use our software. And so there's tons of people inside Microsoft who use Outlook, and they need it to be better. And so we're trying to make it better, not just for all of you watching this, but for the people who are closest to us and then can give us that feedback on a super rapid basis. And so when we all feel good about what it is that we've built, we'll move to this opt out phase where you'll start, um, Windows Mail and Calendar or Classic Outlook, and the toggle will be toggled on, and you'll get a little notice that says, "Hey, we're ready for you to try the new Outlook. The next time you restart, you're going to get the new Outlook," and that's what happens. Now, the new Outlook will still have the toggle. You can opt out. You can say, "I'm sorry, you've done everything that you said you would do, and for whatever reason, I still need to go back to the old one," whether that be for a workload or for a feature that's missing. And again, you can kind of turn it off and tell us why, and we'll continue evolving the product. It's a journey. But at some point, we will decide that we think that the new Outlook is good enough for all users, and we will enter a phase called cutover. And this is where Classic Outlook or Universal Mail and Calendar are no longer supported. And so, users will have to move to the new Outlook. So we'll talk about those timelines, because that may sound scary, especially for those of you watching this who are administrators and tenant admins. That sounds like it's going to happen tomorrow. But we'll give you an example here from Mac Outlook. You'll see that the beta opt-in for the new Mac Outlook started in November of 2019. And it was only February of last year, so 2.5 years later, I think that's it, 2.5 years later, that they finally reached production opt-out, where all users, when they booted into Classic Mac Outlook, got a notice, and then they were given the new Mac Outlook. And we're somewhere in the squiggle here after that. We still, certainly a year and a half later, haven't reached cutover. So these timelines are quite long. We're looking at 4 years, maybe 5 years, from start to finish. That's not to say that they're all that long, but we're talking years, not months. And so if we overlay, that kind of old model, if we overlay what we're doing with Classic Outlook and moving to the new Outlook, we kind of have a "we are here." If you're using Classic Outlook and you're in the normal production ring, you will see that toggle that we showed in the upper right. In addition, we'll talk about it in a moment, there's a few production rings. We've also reached the production opt-in for the monthly enterprise channel, and I'll give a plug for that in just a moment. But you might ask, when is this opt-out going to start? Like, when do I have to be prepared for this? And a kind of standard process for what we call disruptive change, or change that users will really notice. Something, this isn't we moved an icon or added a button to the ribbon or added a little feature. This is when we've changed the UI of products before, and we've notified for that, for disruptive change. We like to give at least 1 year's notice between the notification and the actual disruptive change. So you will get a notice through, I think it's through, Margie, do you know what the
Message Center? I think we'll do it through Message Center. Yep.
Yeah. So in Message Center, probably also in the tenant admin dashboard, that this change is pending. And then we will start, quite soon in the beta channels and the preview channels, but we are committing to giving 1 year notice to production. And then, as we talked about with Mac, like the squiggle there between production opt-out and cutover, or when we remove Classic from the Office distribution, is 1+ years from that point. But the bar will be quite high for removing that, and so we will work with feedback and make sure that we feel really highly confident about the app we're going to be delivering to people as the default Outlook experience.
So one of the top questions is, yeah, go ahead, Bob. Sorry, Bob. I was going to say one of the top questions is when, and we're saying that's going to be determined.
Yeah, like we won't,
readiness.
we as Margie showed the features that we have under development, like that, those all fall into this bucket. If you look at the little footnote here, like we don't view that we'll do a notification of disruptive change until we've addressed kind of major feedback and feature gaps. So, we're not sure how long it's going to take to do that engineering work that was listed on the slide a few slides back. But we wouldn't be going to making our notification before that work was complete. And so this is that prior slide, a bit in words, but a few plugs here. We're talking about this now because one, we've gotten a lot of questions from all of you, but two, we kind of want to say, by the time we're ready to go to production, it's going to be it is going to be a bit hair raising if we haven't heard your feedback by then. So please start earlier. We really want to hear your feedback about the features that are going to be most important to you and your organizations. And we're going to give you the tools to kind of help manage this process. And I'll talk about that in just a moment. But if it's clear that you need more time, engage with your customer support account manager, your CSAM, because we know we work with large companies all the time, and we know that it just you've tens of thousands of users, and you have departments and sub-departments and subsidiaries, and it's often very complex to manage these deployments and rollouts. And so support can work with you to kind of develop a personalized timeline, and they can secure kind of whatever extensions you may need for your tenant. But it's important that we know what we're trying to accomplish, and so we want that feedback as early as we possibly can. Foreshadowing, Margie will talk a little bit about certain user groups, and one of them is administrative assistants and delegates and things like that. And again, getting feedback from a broad, cross section of your organization, so that we don't get surprises when we try to go to production with these things. So please, we want to work with you. We want to hear your feedback, and so let's get started.
You'll hear us ask for that many times. I also want to do a shout out and make a note, which is you may have been hearing timelines and communications around how we're operating on that opt-in, opt-out timeline for the Windows inbox, mail, and calendar apps, whether that's already come out in the news or there's forthcoming news. Just want to be very clear that we are operating on different timelines for what opt-out and what cutover would look like for the mail and calendar apps than what we are looking at for the Win32 Outlook app. We understand that there's a significant difference in expectations and customer requirements between those. And so if you're getting nervous as you're seeing timelines and things being communicated out around the mail and calendar apps being on Windows, know that it's not the same for what we're talking about for Win32 or Classic Outlook.
Yeah, that is happening when you see it in Message Center and when you see in specific referring to Classic Outlook, or when you see it in the tenant admin dashboard.
And so Bob already said, you want to talk about this, that we're already available in the monthly enterprise
channel?
Yeah,
sure. So monthly enterprise channel, for folks who are familiar with the channels of deployment for Office and therefore for Classic Outlook, we have the current channel or monthly channel, and we also have something called the semi-annual channel. And monthly was sometimes too fast for organizations that had long validation timelines, but semi-annual is also, in many cases, a little too slow, sometimes from a quality standpoint, because that build gets quite old. We do a lot of fixes on a monthly basis, and we feel really good about the quality of monthly. We do understand, like I said, some validation timelines get long. So monthly enterprise channel is a channel that was brought about. It's the normal monthly build, just delayed a month. To give a little bit of extra time for people to perform their validation. So if you're not on monthly enterprise channel and you're on semi-annual, give monthly enterprise channel a try. At the same time, the toggle is also now available to users in the monthly enterprise channel. We try to be real careful to make sure that you only see the toggle if your Outlook profile only has accounts that the new Outlook supports. And there is a office policy and a reg key that allows you to control whether or not that toggle is visible. So if you are kind of in a mixed mode and you don't, you find yourself in a situation where you don't want to show that, or you want to force it, you have the capability of doing that. And as we talked about, there was a message center post about the toggle, and so you can refer to that if you need more details.
And I'll shout out that we are starting to increase our frequency of updates to Message Center just to try to increase our communication with customers around giving heads up around what's coming.
And then I mentioned a couple slides back that we want to try to provide as many deployment controls as we can. Right now in code is only the toggle visibility, but we're planning to work on the others that you see here. But prior to the new Outlook being in the Office install, you have to come up with a way of getting it, installed. The toggle itself will make sure that happens. Or later on, as mail and calendar are replaced by the new Outlook in Windows, it will just be there. But there will be some ability to control the application availability. The default toggle state. Right now, the default toggle state is off, as we talked about, because we're in the opt-in mode, and later on, the default toggle state will become on when we go to opt out. But we'd like to give you a little bit of control over that as well. And hint, hint, if you want to start early and you want to opt in some parts of your organization, that's the hope there. And then finally, you can end up in a state where you have you're running side by side, the new Outlook and the old Outlook. And so we also want to provide a little bit of control over what the default mail client is, so that your mail to links or sharing scenarios go ahead and pick the right client for the environment.
And so that was us giving you an overview and trying to answer some of the things and updates on things like our timelines. And next up is where we've pulled what are some of the top questions that have been asked of us in our effort to give answers for you on those. Bob was just talking about things like the tenant admin controls and admin policies out there. So for example, we already have the policy available either through reg key or GPO for being able to determine whether you want that toggle visible or not in your organization, as well as another policy for being able to determine whether it's a mailbox policy for access for accounts being added, accounts from your organization being added to the new Outlook. Another one that is just in the middle of deployment right now is a policy for controlling whether personal accounts can be added to the new Outlook as well. And then we'll have more coming as we continue to go with that. And that's another shout out for informing and helping determine that backlog prioritization around what are the most critical ones to be delivered. I know everybody's going to say we want it all right now, but really, really critical for us is the prioritization of the order of which ones are the most important. Another top question that is coming up and wanting to hear about is around add-in support. We want to be clear that COM add-ins are not going to be supported in the new Outlook for Windows. In many ways, these don't work cross-platform. They have can be a source of some reliability and issues that come forward with that. And we actually have what can be a much more extensible platform with the web add-ins. And so that is where we're working on getting that delivered. That's already delivered. And what we're doing is ever expanding the capabilities that are available on the web add-in platform, as well as working with third-party for ISVs on getting the add-ins that they have to make sure that they're supported in the web add-in platform. And then if you have more, we know that many customers will have line of business apps or ones that they've built for themselves. That's an example of reach out to us. The extensibility team that works on this is very, very open and is also highly, highly driven by customers and engagement with that.
And if I can just add, we've had people say, well, can't you just add COM add-in support to the new Outlook? And, from the standpoint of the team that builds this, we find that most of the really, really great add-ins aren't just COM add-ins. They integrate with the MAPI subsystem. They integrate with other parts of the machine. They do things with our visual tree. They kind of inject themselves into our visual tree, which ends up being part of the instability that Margie mentioned earlier, using our object model. And so the thing about like rebuilding all of that is rebuilding classic Outlook. And so we really are trying to look at this like forward-looking web-based add-in model as one that can be both great for the new Outlook for Windows, but also works cross-platform.
Another area of top concern and questions and feedback is around calendar and time management, and in particular, the scenarios that are for exec admins, administrative assistants, people who are highly reliant on delegates and mailbox sharing and so forth. And the new Outlook does support those scenarios. We have a bunch of those already built in and available in the new Outlook. We definitely want people within as we want all customers to be trying those out, and especially people who are highly reliant on these features to try them out. And what you'll find is that you almost certainly will be able to accomplish the task, but because it's very likely that there are deep habits built in around how to work within delegates, what are the different things, the way that, my sister, by the way, is one of these people. Sure, she's like, it is different. And so she's like, I think I can get it done. I just needed to figure out how to do it. And so those are the areas where we want people to try it and give us the feedback, not just that it's different, but what is it that they're looking for and what are the adjustments that we would need to be making to make this happen. I'll do a quick shout out, by the way, that we actually have a deeper video that we can share a link to down in the comment section that we'll put in there around some of the how-tos of how to do some of these core scenarios.
Yeah, I was also just gonna say that, as Margie mentioned earlier, Outlook is 25 years old, and so in many cases, some of these workflows have been a bit reimagined, and so it wouldn't necessarily be a goal to copy them wholesale, but we also accept the fact that sometimes the little bits, the little details make all the difference for people who do this like 100 times a day. They're setting up a meeting and adding 60 conference rooms and adding, whatnot. And so we've tried our best to get through those scenarios and kind of nail them. But those are those little things, those little details that we really want to get the feedback about, especially within this space.
And then some other top questions are around one of the biggest ones that we've been hearing, and I am not exaggerating when I say probably close to dozens of questions about this a week coming in on, is there a timeline for the end of life for Classic Outlook? And the short answer, as Bob already illustrated above, is no, there is not a strict timeline yet. And that's, as Bob said, it's because it's going to be determined on overall readiness, based on us delivering the core capabilities to the point where we believe that we're ready for opt out, and then that long tail around yet more feedback coming in that'll be driven from that opt out moment, and that long tail to get to the place where we think it's time and ready to remove the Classic Outlook from the deployment package. There's flexibility in there, but I think it's notable that you can see that, yes, that there will come a time. It's probably on the order of a couple of years out, maybe not 2, maybe a little bit more than 2 years, but it is coming. And Bob, I don't know if you want to add anything to that commentary.
No, I would just be repeating myself.
Yep.
Please, we want your feedback. Like that's
yes. And as Bob said, of like, try it and then reach out to us, because like we said, we are on this journey with you, in particular on these timelines. And then some of the other questions around deployment. How will it be deployed? It is available in the toggle right now. It gets installed that way. We are looking at options for how organizations could have their own deployment options with that. As well as, yes, organizations will have some options. One of the other top things that customers are looking for is, will the ability to preview be available? This is one of the top. We're looking at this right now. We know that customers, you're accustomed to, we have the monthly enterprise, we have SAC, which is the semi-annual options. We are looking at and hearing the feedback and looking at what are the ways that we can provide a healthy amount of the time for preview, so that you can evaluate the features before your users start using them, but also be balanced with making sure that we can deliver things on a fast basis to be getting those things like getting issues addressed quickly, because that's one of the key aspects of and advantages of agility, as well as bringing new innovations faster as well. And so with that, we'll put these links available, make these available. We do have an ever increasing number of resources and docs that we're sharing around things like the admin docs, blog posts of announcements, as well as things that are happening in Message Center. So these are some of the ones that we'll be sharing out for you. And you can get to if you want to have more information. The other shout out is that if you are a customer who has account manager, definitely be reaching out to them to get more feedback and information as well. And we'll have more information coming on a pretty regular basis now. Oops. Uh-oh. Did I just change the view? No,
Nope.
it's okay. Oh, good. Okay.
Yep.
I just changed it for myself then. We haven't said it enough.
Yes. I'll just offer an anecdote here. Outlook for Windows, like I said, is 25 years old, and a thing we like to say internally is just it's nothing. We built an app, it had features, but what Outlook is today is nothing but a collection of thousands of customer requests over the past 25 years, and it's been a journey, and this is the start of a new journey. And so we want to be on that journey with you. So please let us know what's not certainly what's blocking you, but also if you're just not satisfied, are there things you'd like to be different, better, more like classic Outlook, more reimagined, like if they're just whatever your feedback is, we want to hear about it so we can make this transition a smooth one.
And what you'll find is that we absolutely want to hear that feedback, but it's not necessarily going to be the case that we can act on it instantaneously.
Yeah.
But you are absolutely seeing, and hopefully that we can continue to show and prove that our engineering backlog is highly, highly determined by the feedback that we're getting from customers and determining that. And so hearing from customers and being able to queue things in is a really important way of that we're operating. So even if we're not able to fix it right now, that is why we're sharing the timelines. That's why we know that we're working on a multi-year journey with you. And so there we go. Thank you very much for watching this session. Thank you very much for trying the new Outlook and then giving us that feedback. Like we said, we're excited to share it with everyone, and we're excited to actually hear the hard feedback as well as the good feedback so that we can keep it going. But we also want to hear what is working as well.
Yeah. Thank you.
Right. Thank you all.
Bye.